Hello, everybody. Welcome to Spirit Coffee Talk. Today it's just myself and Ginette. And so we are going to jump right in talking about kind of these new energies for 2024. I know that by this week we've had a ton of 2024 predictions and all that kind of stuff. But I think that more has come through for me personally on not necessarily like predictions. That actually doesn't resonate so well for me, but it's like the natural fluidity of the energy of this time and this kind of, I don't know. I hesitate to say 2024 because it's like not within the 12-month cycle necessarily, but it's like where the collective and us individually have found ourselves at this point in time on this planet. How does it feel? Okay. So that's really detaching from any of the like polarity perspectives or the linear timing perspectives. Because I know people really like to hold on to that like timing thing, that linear time. By this time, it makes them feel safe. And I get that because how many times do I say, can I get a timeline on that? This is more like spirit has really come in and been like detached from the perspective of like this going to be 2024 and really be in the moment, be present and surrender to the fluidity of the energy at this point in time and detach from looking at the next 12 months to determine your perspective on what's going to happen or how to be or how to feel. So spirit has really come in lately for me, like the last week, and zoned in on again surrendering to this place in time now. And how that feels is when I said polarities before, that is such a big theme because at this place in time right now on our planet, we're experiencing so many different types of polarities. And how to acknowledge that they exist within our physical plane, yet you do not have to engage in the energy of the polarities, right? And so like it's maybe an overused thing is like, okay, two stations can be playing at the same time, right? Like I can listen to my like 777 hertz frequency and be like, okay, this is where I'm residing. And that's very real to me. But not to say that there isn't a like hardcore screamo station playing at the same time. No offense to anybody who loves screamo, but I'm just saying like that doesn't resonate necessarily with me and my nervous system right now. So it still exists, but I don't need to concern myself and my nervous system with the fact that it's existing, And I know that sounds so simplistic, but that's literally the example they gave me.
Mm-hmm.
So although it's simplistic, it really can be that simplistic.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? How
Yeah.
are you feeling about the spirit's guidance on the polarities right now? Like that seems to be a big theme.
Well, I think it is kind of like choose your own adventure within it. And I think it's like that because we have like the personal journey and then the collective journey. Both are happening independent of each other, but also both of them have a direct effect on each other. That's that
Yeah.
polarization or the opposites of it. So I think it's like choosing where we want to focus our energy because collectively we may be seeing that screamo type station playing really loud, but individually we are feeling the 777 hertz frequency
Yeah.
that you're talking about. And so I think that's a beautiful point that the two can still exist and you can still choose which you want to be in, not being ignorant to the screamo station, but
Right.
knowing it's there, but choosing what you want to focus your time on. And I think that choice piece is really significant with how this year plays out for people.
Absolutely.
It's like choose your own adventure. Like, how are you wanting to interact with this year? How are you wanting to create in this year? How are you going to react to the things that happen either collectively or to you? Because
Yeah.
that is basically going to color it. They're showing me like we can have a coloring page in a coloring book, and the template of the drawing is there, but the colors are completely yours,
Yeah.
right? So you could make it brown and black, or you can make it every single color you can possibly pull onto
Yeah.
that page. That's there's your choice in that.
Yes.
So I think something that's really important for this year is to release rigidity and follow more flow. And I think you mentioned flow in your intro.
And you've been mentioning flow. Has
Flow
flow
has been
been
coming up a
coming up for
ton,
you like nonstop
a
too?
ton. Yeah.
Literally, like in everything that I do, whether it's my yoga practices, whether it's my meditation, whether it's like conversations with my kids, being in the flow of things,
Yeah.
or like flowing or
Mm-hmm.
fluidity,
Yeah.
that is like such a huge theme too.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think there's like, it gives us a little bit of time to ponder in that flow or like try on what something could be versus having the rigid nature of what it is. Because
Yes.
I think there's a lot of things that can be illuminated for us this year based on all the growth we've had since 2020 and now becoming who we are now. There's a lot that can be illuminated if we're willing to not be rigid in it.
Well, yeah. That's like one of the biggest things that I've been feeling with the whole flow theme is that exactly what you said, is that sometimes when we're so attached to a certain outcome or a perspective or even a timeline of something, it does cause this rigidity, right? And by doing that, you create this resistance to receive what you don't even know yet. So when you're in the flow, what that does is it opens you up. It makes you available to the infinite possibilities for the, let's say, end result of the why, or the alignment with what you're in. So let's say your why is, I don't know how it's going to happen, I don't even know what I'm going to be doing, but my why is connecting with people. So personally, my why is connecting with individuals in order to help dissipate the density of trauma in all forms, so that we can, as a collective, raise our frequency for the greater good. So we can open up our heart space and we can walk forward with ease and grace. Okay. So that's kind of a lot of my direction that I've been trained in and all this kind of stuff. So then when you break it down really to the like innermost part of it, mine is, I want to show up for people for the greater good. I want to allow my heart to be open to show up for the greater good. Okay. And so when I had to break it down to its like innermost, peeling off the layers, the fluidity or being in flow with that wire, that energy allows me to receive opportunities in infinite ways to be able to do that. Instead of me saying, this is how I will do it. I will only do it in this medium, in this capacity, on this day, and I will only talk to this amount of people or whatever, right? And I will only work this position, kind of thing. And if you allow yourself to just hold on to that frequency of that why and ride the flow of that frequency, then it allows you to come into contact with the infinite, abundant nature of the universe, trusting that the universe has your back.
Mm-hmm. It's
You
true.
know?
And I think that that can also play into, I have a podcast coming out on Monday on the astrology for 2024. And I had two very cool astrologers come on and we talked about the
Oh,
different things. Yeah, I'm
cool.
so excited about it. So it comes out on Monday. So I think that same fluidity, flow nature is also really important when we try to look ahead. Because I mean, I'm nosy. I always want to know what's going on, right? Like you said, like
Totally.
timeline and this and this and this. Even if we can get a sense of a timeline or an astrological prediction based on the stars and whatever,
Yeah.
that flow is still so important because if we just take the most common Mercury retrograde, right? Most people think, oh my gosh, Mercury retrograde's here. Everything's gonna just go to shit,
Yeah.
right? But that's not actually true. That's the rigid nature of it. Mercury retrograde, like we've talked about in past episodes, can also be a time to turn inward, to kind of
Yeah.
reset ourselves, clean out our space, whether that be internally in our home. Like it can be really fruitful
And
in
let
many
go of
ways.
the attachments that something has to happen, because the
Yeah.
chances of it happening with ease and grace over that time is probably lower. So you can release your attachments to it and be like, oh, this is a time for me to just be curious. You
Mm-hmm.
know, there's a
Exactly.
freedom in that.
There's a freedom in that. And so I think what that also then brings forward this year is a big opportunity for um like death and rebirth, like you've
Big
mentioned
time.
before, like endings and beginnings, like ending. And I know from my own personal experience,
Oh,
there are certain things that I find I am like completely letting go of. And whether it be um, the desire to push myself really hard, you know, either physically or mentally or like achieve or accomplish or however, I mean, I love to push myself, right? But I'm finding that's coming to an end. And it has been, but I really noticed this ending and this new beginning of deeper flow state where it's like, oh, do we need to sprint now? Let's sprint. Ooh, are we moving into rest? Okay, I'm going to rest and relax. Like more fluidity. And I
yes,
love it. But that is to me, that's a very clear ending and a very clear new beginning that's happening. And I think a lot of people are in that kind of position in some way in their life, maybe
yeah,
multiple ways right now. And I think that's something that should be celebrated too,
I
not
agree.
feared or the
Totally.
rigidity could make you block it, but it's
Yeah,
actually a beautiful transformation.
yeah. And when we see these uh different polarities that play out, okay, we can have a choice. Just like, I love this example. I don't know if it was me and you, who was it that was talking about how like the algorithm of our social media shows up and brings us stuff based on like our search or likes or whatever. Like we individually each have our own algorithm, right? We know this.
Yeah.
So if you're going to see the stuff show up on your For You page that is littered with fear and violence and that kind of vibration, that that's showing up for you because that's what you're aligning with. But the same thing is with your life. If you're looking at your life and you're like, my personal human algorithm, so that's like how we've talked so much about the projection in which we see is dependent upon the projector, right?
Mm-hmm.
Us. And so if we take like a seat in a vibration where our algorithm creates a reality that is something that is very dense and filled with fear, understand that it's going to keep showing up like it would be on our For You page.
Mm-hmm.
Or are you going to re-administer your whole system to be able to project and see the things that is aligned with what you perceive as your greatest good and your highest frequency timeline? Because in a day we can move through infinite amount of timelines based upon our projection.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why when all of a sudden our projection changes and we align with something that's in a higher frequency, all of a sudden we start to see the things around us change like that, even the small things, right? The small things. And the more that we do that, just remember in the back of your head, because it really makes sense that, like, what is my algorithm? Am I going to keep searching up like the brutality of our earth? For me, no, because that really pulls me into a dense frequency. And I know when I'm in that, it does not serve my why. It does not serve my greater good and my perception of the greater good of all. That is not why I'm here. That is not my calling. And that's not the frequency that I'm comfortable in residing. Right. And so I could easily do that. And I find myself sometimes where I'm like, what am I watching?
Mm-hmm.
What am I watching? How did I get here? Right, on YouTube and stuff, you can get pulled in pretty quickly because all of a sudden you see like one of your favorite channelers or, astro travelers start talking about some really dense stuff. And then the algorithm starts to slowly change. And all of a sudden you're like, I thought I'm in my spiritual realm here and I'm watching the like biggest fear
Yeah.
creep in. And I'm like, interesting. Conscious awareness. And then when you feel that, when it shows up, you're not in your like state of flow. When you're feeling that pull down, and like for me, how I feel it in my body is I can feel it in my throat right away. Like if I've almost swallowed something that's too large, I can feel it in the pit of my stomach. And I can actually feel my physical body when I'm dense.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It feels heavier,
Yeah.
right? Feels like there's that cloud. And then when that cloud kind of parts and lifts, it's like I can feel myself literally pulling myself into a higher frequency. And so to be able to do that takes conscious awareness. It really does. But you can choose on a daily basis with affirmation mantras or just like physical, mental, emotional, spiritual things that you can incorporate in order to bring you in. And then it's that law of vibration, being able to say, yeah, okay, I want to attract this, but how do I keep it? How do I stay in that? Really look into the law of vibration. How do I keep this vibration?
Yeah.
And that is spirit's big, like, to me, being like, really feel into this, feel into the law of vibration, feel into how it feels when you fluctuate between vibrations, and stay in your state of flow and ride the wave. Because there will be all the other stuff, and I don't have to be like, no, peace and love, only fifth dimensional frequency in my world. Right? That exists, but that exists in order for this to exist too, because all things have the flip side.
Yeah. You know, and I think too, there's another part, astrologically speaking, for this year about us stabilizing as a species. There's an energy, according to the stars, that is for us to stabilize, which kind of makes sense after the crazy we've been through the last 4 years. What I think is really neat, and that stabilization can be in the form of spiritual practice, like setting the frequency that you want to be in. And I think one thing to take charge of is what that looks like for you. And it can be the simplest things. And the reason why I say that is because I noticed how much my daily energy has changed in the last year and a bit by the most simplest practice that I do every day. And it is simply when I wake up in the morning, I go get my coffee. I don't talk to anybody. Usually nobody's awake yet. Maybe my husband is. Grab my coffee. I get back in bed. I sit in bed before I turn on lights or anything, before I check my phone, before I do. This is while I'm having the first sip or two of coffee, is I think of 2 or 3 things I'm grateful for. And it just puts me in the right energy. And some days when, even if I've been sick or say there's just lots going on, I will have gratitude for having a warm bed that I am experiencing in that moment. And what I find is that simple act, even on the hardest days, has really helped change the base frequency that I sit in. And I've really, really noticed it. And so, I mean, there are other spiritual practices I do, like you do. You have your yoga, you have meditation and all this. But finding even the simplest things that you can do on a daily can really help anchor into that. And when I mean you, I mean everybody watching, right? Like there's something so valuable in that. So that would be my biggest recommendation for this year. If you don't have one already, find something that you can do on the daily that is like your thing. And it can just take 5 seconds because it will help so much with the frequencies.
You know what I got back into in the morning time was breath work.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I can't remember who it is. And if somebody knows who this is, because it's his thing, let me know. But it's really quite simple. So I listen to, like I used to just meditate on its own, and I love doing that during the day too. But my morning routine, I do gratitude meditation and abundancy meditation with Deepak. Yeah. And he's got a 21 day, and I just cycle through. And it's amazing because it's so high vibe. I love it. I used to do guided meditations, took a couple of years off, and then now I'm back into it because it's like, I love it. But then afterwards, I do this breath thing, and it's like, okay, so it's 3 sets of 5 breaths. Okay. And then you slowly move up. So I'm at like 7 or 8 or something like that. But he's like, make it your most like obnoxious. I don't care how the air gets in and out, just as long as it's the most obnoxious breath you can, to really, because it's first thing in the morning. He says, ideally do it in the first 30 minutes. And essentially you just like do 5 of those.
Yeah.
And then after you exhale on your 5th one, all the way out, put your tongue on the roof of your mouth when your breath is all the way out until you can't anymore. And then obnoxious breath in. And then feel like when you do that, you pull up all your energy, like you pull everything in and up to the top chakra, and you pull everything in, roof of mouth again, tongue to roof of mouth, hold your breath till you can't anymore, and exhale. And that's the first round. Do 3 of those. So 5 obnoxious breaths, exhale in your 5th, hold, and then inhale and then pull everything like you're pulling your energy up to the top of your head, hold, and then release. And then start your next one. You do 3 sets, and then it's like you circulate the oxygen in your body and your brain, and it's almost like you come out of it in a euphoria.
Amazing.
But it's natural, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's the most natural, energetic, euphoric high that you can. And so then that's when I'm like, okay, light my incense, turn on some nice music, and then I start my routine, make the coffee, make my kids, and then they all come down. They know not to come down the stairs till mom's done breathing.
Yeah,
They'll
right.
sit there waiting until I'm like done breathing.
Oh, that's so sweet. Yeah.
That's one that I started between Christmas and New Year's, feeling like a bit of that pull there. And then I stumbled upon that, plus my brother, who's an amazing spiritual human being, and he's just unbelievable. Anyway, he said he's been doing this for 3 years straight. And like watching the trajectory of his existence in his life has been nothing short of like a miracle. And he said it's an absolute like must is his morning routine. He's got his thing in place, works so well. And so, yeah, like even if you start small.
And yeah, and I really find whether it's morning or for some people evening is easier, but there's something about like honoring that like either shutdown time or the wake up time or both that is like so significant. And I also
agree.
feel like it plays into the beginnings and endings because you're like you're allowing one experience to end and a new one to begin in that cyclical nature. I just find it like constantly renewing. You're just constantly renewing and resetting your frequency, your intent, however you do it. I don't know. And that's something that we can
very
do.
magical about that. Hey.
Yeah. And it's like your choice.
Yeah.
Right. So definitely recommend that for people this year in some form, whatever it is.
Yeah. And if you have a really cool routine or ritual, or even like a short thing that you might incorporate into your day, share it with us. Put it in the comments. We'd love to hear it. And then we could even do like a whole episode on different things that people do to create ritual and how it influences their life. Because like in this year too, it's like, the co-collective as well, right? Let's work with each other to raise this frequency. Yeah. I love that. So, well, I hope that there's some sort of tidbit here for somebody or everybody, or something. You can find something in this that helps to either awaken that part of yourself, to create that flow and that fluidity in your life. And if you're in it, how to maintain it, how to be in that state of existence, or how to return there, or how to make space for yourself to be able to observe where you're at and give yourself so much love and compassion, because no matter where you're at, with love and compassion, that naturally raises your vibration. So if you're like, oh my God, I'm not in this state of flow and my life is chaos, what am I going to do? Love.
Yes.
Observe yourself like a parent would observe their child and say like, oh, no wonder you're feeling it. Yeah, your nervous system is taxed. Look at you, girl, like, or boy, or man, or him, or they, or them. I got you.
Yeah.
So patience, love, compassion for ourselves, for other people that you've observed that might not be in their flow, and you know it, telling them that and saying, get into your flow might not help.
Yep.
But just see if you can observe yourself or others with that compassionate, loving perspective, and that will help you inevitably get into that higher vibration. So I hope that you can find some little tidbit in here that might help you for this week. And we're always here. We love you. And again, we're open to hearing your feedback and anything that you want to learn about more. And if you haven't already, go check out Avalon Spirit's webpage, or Avalon Spirit on Facebook. We have a group where there's an amazing community of people that come together and share a lot of stuff. We've got beautiful sharing there. And Ginette is offering some really great new things this new year at Avalon Spirit. So go check it on. I have opened my schedule up to more intuitive and mediumship and life coaching sessions. So go check it out on Avalon Spirit. And until next time. I hope that you are feeling the love. So peace and love to all of you.
Bye, everyone.